Good morning and welcome to PoWeR Professional Workforce Registry Directors and Managing Staff. We're glad to have you here with us. This interactive tutorial is for child care directors to learn more about the new PoWeR Professional Workforce Registry. Covering a few housekeeping tips, the mute button has been turned on for all attendees. You will be able to hear the panelists, but we will not be able to hear you. If you do have a question during this tutorial, please post it in the question box on the navigation toolbar. If you are unable to type in the question box, please click the arrow before the question box and it will expand so you can type. In addition to this webinar, there is a handout available for attendees to use. You can find the handout in the handout box on the navigation toolbar. For your reference, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the Iowa CCR&R website. I would now like to introduce Erin Clancy, the PoWeR Professional Workforce Registry Program Manager from the Department of Human Services.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for attending the webinar, and thank you, Bobby, for all of your work and making sure that everybody is aware of the new PoWeR system and all of your advocacy for it and the great work that you do. So I want to start out by introducing you as a manager to the screen that you will see after you have signed in. And then I want to go ahead and talk about a few things that aren't related to the manager section of the system, but are important for you to know so that you are able to help your employees the best that you can. So the first thing is when you click on sign in, you'll have a sign in link on the top right hand side. You're going to go to the current sign in page. So this means that everybody who has an account in the system currently will be able to use that same account to sign into the new registry. So they won't need to create a new account. But for those people who are hiring new employees, after you hire your new employees, you should make sure that they do have an account in the system. And it does have to be their account because it's their information. It's really a professional portfolio of all of their professional accomplishments over their career. And so they should be in control of that. And the PoWeR system was created so that they can be. So I just wanted to make sure that you all understood that it really is for each individual participant to create their own account and manage their own account so that if they don't always work for your facility, they can still sign into their own account and see their own professional accomplishments. So after you sign in as a director, you'll be able to see all of your employee role requests here. So how people get into this page for you to click on and accept their role is by going to the link to a role section. And they're going to want to link to a role of early learning or school age care program. So clicking select here. If they aren't yet hired, but they're going to be hired after they complete their pre-service orientation, or if they just were hired, but you don't know for sure what role you want them in, you can always have them select completing pre-service/orientation as a role. And that will just allow them to submit it without having to select a business name. Otherwise, all of the roles for a child care facility are listed here. If there are roles that you need that aren't listed here, you can let me know and we'll add those roles to it. Many of these roles are in our rules. So I just want to show you the process. So the director whose account I'm in right now is part of traditions. So as you can see, it's a smart search. And then here it will ask you if you would like to update your education, experience, credentials, and other information before sending this request. So this is so that the employee or your employee can update their information to the most updated criteria possible so that when you go to accept the request, then they can see, then you can see all of the information that's the most current. So this just reminds them to make sure that their information is updated. I'm going to say no. And now you can see, since I'm in Linda Fox's account, you can see that I just requested to be a teacher for less than 20 hours a week. Bobby also requested to be a teacher for more than 20 hours a week. I requested to be an assistant teacher previously. And so the co-directors here, the director is the person who would click on the request. And as you can see, all of the requests are here, and you can see their status. They're requested. This one's approved. These are requested. This one was actually denied, and these are requested and approved. So the requested role, you would just go in and you would click approve. And that would automatically take you to the page you need to be on. So here you can select their position start date. And then what work they are going, what area of work they're going to be working in. So what age group they're going to be working with, or if they're a program administrator or doing business practices or doing specialized content. So we included as many as we could think of at the time. So if they're going to be in the infant toddler room and occasionally in the preschool room, then you could do it that way. These other fields are actually optional fields, but you can enter into them if you'd like to, but they're there for other purposes, for like workforce studies in the future and things like that. Click on approve role. And now you can see that that teacher role was approved. Another way to give people roles, instead of having the person go in and link to a role, you can, as the director, go into the search link and click on search profiles. If you are on the search profiles link, you'll see all of these names. Those are people who are already attached to your childcare facility. So those are likely your employees. If you want to search for somebody who's not attached to your childcare facility, you would just click on search global and then apply the filters. And you can see me here. Once you get into my account, you can click on my roles and you can add a role. You see your building is already shown up here. And let's say you at your center call the main teacher, the lead teacher, and that teacher works more than 20 hours a week. And that person started on the 1st and works in the infant, toddler, and preschool room. You see, these are the same fields that you would fill out if you were accepting a role, but you're just doing that step for them instead of having them request and then you accept. You're just accepting by searching for them and going in. So you see that I actually have that role here now, and it's already approved. So I just searched for the profile. I went to that person's my roles, and then I added that role. Any questions about that?
Yes, Erin, we do have one question.
Great.
Can assistant directors search for employees who are not linked to a business, or is it only the directors?
We are giving access to the center directors, the co-directors, the assistant directors, the on-site supervisors, the child care facility managers, which is a more generic term for just a person who can help manage the system. So yeah, we are going to be giving that kind of access to all of those roles.
Great, thank you, Erin. We do have one more question.
Great.
If an employee can't find their username and password, as a director, are we allowed to look up their username and password and find them both, or how does that work?
Oh, great question. So that's a very good question. So in the current system, and I'm just going to go into the profile for Linda Fox here, but in the current system, you have to ask me if you don't know what their username is. So in the new system, when you search the profile and you go into your employee's profile, after you accept them as your employee, you'll be able to see the personal details screen. And on that personal details page, you'll see their username, so that if they wanted to have some help with signing in, that you could find that there. So then you could say, I forgot my password, and then enter their username. So you always have their username to work with when you're retrieving a password. If for some reason that doesn't work, you can always click on Report Issue to State Service Desk from the sign-in page, and that will actually lead you to a place where you can submit a service request or make a phone call. And with that ID, with that username, you can get a lot further than if you didn't have it. So you can say, this is my username and this is my email address. Can you please reset my password? Or this is my username and this is my email address. Can you please reset my account because I got locked out or something like that. I did want to point out that I'm not able to help you retrieve a password because I don't have access to any passwords. That's all managed within that system in a completely different department than where I work. So you would just have to eventually get to reporting an issue to the state service desk for username and password issues. Very good question. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Erin. That's all the questions we have so far.
Great. Okay. So also another feature of going in to search for a profile is you can help your employees manage their or see their enrollment, their My Enrollment sections. So on the left navigation, you see My Enrollments. That's actually Linda's because I'm in Linda's account. I signed in as Linda. So whoever signed in, that's their My Enrollments page. But if you searched for a profile, understanding that this, when you search for a profile and you go to My Enrollments, now when you're in this person's profile, so I am Linda inside Erin's profile, then the My Enrollments inside that profile are mine. Are Erin's, not Linda's. So I'm Linda, I'm signed in as Linda, but I'm looking at Erin's enrollments here. So you can help your employees by showing them their enrollments if they're not able to sign in and you are for whatever reason, at least you could get to the information they need. So in the My Enrollments, you have the classes, the series, and the conferences that that person is enrolled for and the status. So you can also go in here, click on the status, click on the item, and you should be able to, it should say cancel enrollment request here. So that's going to be a issue that I report. I just wanted to let you know that that's available. Also the manage batch enrollment. So as a center director and all of those other roles that I announced earlier when we were talking about managing the system, if as a center director, when you go into enroll, you not only have the enroll button that you can enroll yourself into a class, you also have the batch enrollment option. So if you wanted to batch enroll a group of people from your facility, so since I'm in traditions, I can search for that. And then I can apply those filters. Now these are all of the people who are linked to Traditions Children's Center 5, Building 100. So I can select all of them. If they are all attending minus these 4, then I can do that. Or I can not select all of them, but just go through and select those that I know are going to be attending. And then I can say that I'm responsible for the payments of these enrollments by selecting this option and then click on enroll. After I do that, I can go to the manage section and go into the manage batch enrollments piece. And I can see here that I just enrolled today for these 4 people into that class. And if I need to, I can cancel the enrollments in this way. So I don't have to go search for each person's profile to cancel the enrollment request. I can do that from here as well. Okay, I'm going to move on. The search trainings, that's the same as the search trainings up here. So you just saw that, but I do want to point out that if you wanted to filter the trainings, you can search by title, by a date range, Or you can go to the filters and search by county here, or you can search by delivery method, the credit type that you're seeking, the group or the format, whether it's group setting or self-study. You can even search by the minimum and maximum costs. So if you put a minimum in here and a maximum, or just a maximum, it'll search by 0 to that range, or whatever range you put in. If you're just looking for like essentials pre-service that's face-to-face, then you could do essentials here, and then you could go to face-to-face here, and then that'll show you all of those. So there's lots of different options. I would suggest only using a couple of filters at first until you get used to the system, because the more filters you use, the less information you get back. If you know that your opportunity that you're going to be registering for is through CCR&R Region 3, then you would just select the CCR&R Region 3 here, like if you can remember the name of the training or something. Or if you knew that the adult educator was Dawn, then you could just select Dawn here and search that way. Just make sure you're taking out filters you don't want as you go. You can also search by CDA content area, competency level, competency area. These are the teacher competencies for early childhood Iowa. The target audience, the content it pertains to. So remember when we were selecting what population you work with, you can also take trainings that apply to certain populations, and you can select those that way. Whether they meet the standards for Iowa Early Learning Standards, or they're accepted for NAT credential, or if they're a training for CACFP. In the future, we're going to have the IQ4K system, and you'll be able to mark whether or not that training meets the specific requirements. That means that it's a specific training that's needed for one of the levels for IQ4K, and you can select that there. Or if you're looking for a training by a specific funding source, or if you know that you only have 2 hours or 1.5 to 2 hours, you can mark those clock hour timeframes there and look for trainings for that. Or if you want a more extensive training and you want to mark that you don't want anything under 6 hours, then you can mark that there as well. Any questions about the filters and searching for trainings?
No questions, Erin. Thank you.
Great. So one thing I did think about when I asked that question was that the search and enroll trainings are searching for classes and series. If you want to look at conferences, you do have to click on this green bar to get to the conferences that are currently posted or available. So that's different from the current registry, because in the current registry, we have the conferences and the classes and series together. But when they say in this system, view upcoming trainings, that means classes and series and not conference events. That's just how they built the system. So we put that bar there so it was easier to find. If you're on the home page and you're not signed in, you can scroll through all of them, but the bar will still be there if you don't want to scroll all the way down to see the conferences. The next thing that's on your list on the left navigation as a manager is the search facilities screen. Everybody's able to search facilities if they're signed in, but not everybody's able to see everything about that facility. You can search for a facility and view the facility details as a public user, but if you want to see the reports, you have to be a professional development organization manager in an administrative role for a center, or working at DHS. So I'm just going to go into traditions since that's the role I'm in here. Of course it's not. Oh, the apostrophe is not working, that's why. Okay, so that error hopefully will be fixed by the time we go live. Here's my center. So this is the center that I'm a manager for. Here, Traditions Children's Center 5, Building 100. And you see something extra here. It says that I'm 5-star rated, and also I have the ability to click on a report here, whereas I did not have the ability to click on a report in any of the other ones. That's because I'm not the manager for any of those other facilities, and the registry is new, and we're just starting to build people's information into the system. So we don't want to give a false sense of not having things done when we do have things done, but they're still in paper files. So we just made it so only the directors and the people in the administrative roles could see it right now, except DHS, so that we're, as you can see, there's some blank areas here that we didn't want the public to have to wonder why. So as you can see, these are all of the employees who are linked to this specific facility, and here's the facility name. You can enter your licensing dates here if you want to see what trainings have been completed within these dates. If you want to print this and fill in the blanks with your own records, then you can do that too. I think you can even copy it and paste it into an Excel document if you want to do it that way, but it lists their role. It also, it's very much like the licensing consultants form that they use during their licensing visit. It would list the position end date if there was one, and then the expiration dates for all of the required trainings are here. The essentials completion date. So now the rule states that the essentials has to be completed, but the expiration is not needed anymore. So that essential completion date, if it falls within this period of time, would also be included in the ongoing professional development hours. And you can see it's just a helpful tool to see the expiration dates and to see where all of your employees are at any given time. So since we're looking at some of these blank fields, let me show you how you can fill those in. Okay. If you go to your profile, or if any of your employees go to their profile and they go to the My Professional Development link, there's actually 3 reports here that I'll show you here just in a minute. But I wanted to show you that you can add a training certificate now. That wasn't always possible. But today, we wanted to make sure that you were able to upload so you don't have to keep paper documentation in your center of all of the ongoing professional development that your employees are participating in. Either you can have them upload their documentation, or you can go into their profile and upload it on their behalf if they don't have a computer or scanner. So let's just do one just so we can see how it works. Test certificate. So you would just take this information off of the certificate that you have in front of you. You can choose the different types of hours and it will auto calculate into clock hours in the report. Some of the information may not be completely apparent on the certificate, but if it's not a first aid CPR, any of these classes, then it is going to be ongoing professional development, but it might not state that specifically on the certificate. The CDA subject area should be on the certificate. If it's not, then do your best, because the person at DHS that's approving that specific information is going to decide whether or not it's accurate and update it if it's not anyway. So just do what you can to do your best. And then the content pertains to, that may not be on the certificate. Now the CDA content area should be on the certificate, but you know if you went to the training what the content pertains to, and hopefully, oops, I was picking a picture. So I'm pretending that that issues document that I just pulled up is my certificate. So I'm going to click that I certify that the information I'm entering is correct to the best of my knowledge. And it's telling me that the CDA subject area needs to be 3. So see that I entered up here that the amount of credit was 3 clock hours. So the CDA subject area should match that 3 clock hours. So that's why I was receiving that error. So let me try again. Sorry, I think that helps, but it probably doesn't. Okay, so as you can see, this test certificate here is the certificate that I just added. If you look below and next to that certificate, you'll see that those certificates have a check mark with a green box or a green figure in it. So those have been verified either by the system, by taking the training through the system or by a professional who has verification access, like a licensing consultant or a DHS registration staff person. So if you enter a training certificate and it doesn't have a check mark, that just means it hasn't been verified. So when you run your education and professional development report, you're not going to see that certificate specifically in that section. It looks like I should have run that report anyway in 2011 from the training period she was in when she took training. So let me just go back and grab that to 2009, and I'm going to click on that. So this participant education and professional development report is actually created so that when verified information is available, it can be plopped into this section. And if it's not verified, it's not going to display in this section. My screen's extra large, so that surprised me a little bit. But you can see the training titles and the subject areas and the content pertains to is a new field, so it might have an NA completion date, a description of the training, the number of clock hours and the type of clock hours, and the professional development provider. Now, those are all fields that are needed for a participant who's applying to the Council for Professional Recognition to receive their CDA or earn their CDA. So that's why all of those fields are in there. I am going to try to decrease the length of this description so that it only displays a abbreviated version of that, just so that there's not as much paper that comes out of these reports. You can use it for other information. It also displays all of the facilities that I'm attached to currently and their administrators' contact information for the information that's needed for the CDA as well. So if that information is verified, then it's displaying. And if it's not verified, then it's not displaying. We do also take the college coursework that's verified into consideration, and it will display on that education and professional development report as well. That was a lot. So are there any questions about that part?
Yes, Erin, we do have a question. When the new system becomes available, will employees have to create a new account?
That's a great question. No, actually, if you already have an account in the registry, we do not want you to create a new account. So, but if you do have a different ID for some reason and your first name, last name, date of birth, and gender all match the current system, then that new ID and password will automatically drop into where the old one was. So that's fine. If they don't match exactly, then a duplicate record will be created, and then you'll have issues finding your training history, and you'll have to contact me by clicking on Contact iPower down here to request that those records be merged together so that the training history can be in one place. So no, you should not create a new account, but definitely keep in mind that you can have a different ID and password over time as long as you maintain your first name, last name, date of birth, and gender exactly the way it was in the system before, so that it can autofill into where the old one was.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next question we has is on an employee profile. There were 2 email addresses listed. Will both of those receive notifications from the system, or how will that dual email address part work?
That's a great question. So I believe what you're referring to, and I'm just going to go into the edit mode here, is that there's a place for a personal email and a work email. So every person needs to have their own account, and every person should be using their own personal email. And the reason for that is in case that person doesn't always work for your facility, they'll still be able to get notifications from the system if they enroll in the system, even after they stop working for your facility. So the personal email is the required one, and that's the one that's coming from the old registry. So that's the one that we're going to be sending notifications to. We are currently working on a way to also send notifications to the person who batch enrolls the person who batch enrolls during the search training, if anything happens to those trainings. So like if a training were to be canceled because of weather, then the person who batch enrolled them would also receive a notification saying that that training was canceled. But currently, um, all of the information that comes from the registry will go to the required email field, and the work email is not required, so it's not going to come from there. Great question.
Okay, thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Next question. I have staff already enrolled for training in the spring. Do I need to re-enroll them when iPower drops, or how will that work?
Okay, wonderful question. So everything in the registry that's in the current registry is going to be moved to the new registry. So they're working on a sync process right now. So when the new registry rolls out, they're going to retire the old registry, and then the new registry will have all of the information that the old one had. So knowing that we're all human and systems are as they are, if you do see things that are missing, then definitely click on Contact iPower on the left navigation bar and let me know what those things are, and I'll work hard to make sure that those are brought back. Because we're retiring it and then keeping a copy of it, it will be easy for us to go back to the system as it was when the new one rolled out and see where we're finding the discrepancies. So definitely we're going to be relying heavily on people letting us know when things aren't working for them, but we've been working hard to make sure that everything's synced. So we're hoping that everything's going to be synced and everything's going to be exactly the way it was before we went to the new system, or what? Yeah, before we went to the new system. So good question, very good question.
Great, thank you, Erin. I don't
Absolutely.
see any more questions coming in. Guess we can wait just a little bit and see if something comes through.
Okay. Do you mind if I just talk through one or two more things
Oh,
before we end? I think
sure,
I
go
have.
ahead.
I guess I did do the report, so I guess maybe I don't have anything else. But let me just click on this and see if it works. So, um, oh, great. Okay, so this is under the reports link. You're only going to have access to one additional report. Um, and you can sort the report, or you can, this is the approved professional development organizations report. So right now it's on our DHS website, um, but we're going to have it in the registry in the future. So if you want to see all the approved, it's not working right now, but we'll keep it on our website until it functions. But if you want to see all the approved professional development organizations in the future, you'll be able to click on the other reports and see the registry reports. The approved professional development organizations will be right there for you in the future. And then I just wanted to really quick show you, and you can search through this. I know that this is a little extra information and I'm going a little bit over time, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that in here you have different reports that you can run for your employees or for yourself that that will help you determine whether or not your employees are ready to apply for their CDA. So as you can see, I started to open this earlier, but um, it's a CDA subject area report. So if you had trainings in different CDA subject areas, those would be documented in this bar report here. And then you can see where you're lacking and where you're getting enough trainings and where you might need to work on your professional development plan too. And this is going to be the professional development plan report. And this report, oh, that's the CDA one. And this report is going to come from the um, excuse me, the Early Childhood of Iowa Navigate Your Pathway website. So this is a website that has a professional development plan in it already, but there's no ability to save it. But if you enter your registry ID after you fill out the professional development plan, it actually saves to this registry. And so it'll be a PDF that you can click on and view that report as well. I just wanted to point out those couple extra reports before I ended. But thank you very much. Oh, let me just ask it. Are there any other questions before we finish?
No other questions have come at this time, Erin.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to thank everybody for coming on the webinar today. And I also want to thank you all for all of the work you do with your employees and making sure that each and every person has their own account and knows their username and password so that they can manage their own professional portfolio in the system moving forward. And I also want to thank Bobby for all the hard work that you've done to help me do these webinars and to help promote the system. And I really appreciate it. Remember, iPower is coming out soon, so I hope you're all ready and excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. We'd like to thank everybody for attending this tutorial webinar, and we are excited for the rollout of the new Professional Workforce Registry. And just be sure if you would like to review the webinar, you can go to the Iowa CCR on our website at www.iowaccrr.org. All the webinars for child care providers and directors has been listed on the main page. And so you can review all that anytime you would like an update. And a big thank you to Erin Clancy. You've done an amazing job making iPower happen, and we're really excited for the rollout of the new system.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bobby.
Yep. Good night, everyone.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.